Mexico is very famous for its national resources, especially for its oil resources. And in some places like Monterrey and Santa Fe in Mexico City, it's a very beautiful and affluent places. However, in some places in Mexico, it's in extremely poverty. It's for the people who cannot afford the housing, and because of lack of the education, they are not managed to find a job, so they need to live here. So as you can see, the people living here is desperate because there is no any public services and any jobs here. It's a very extreme situation. And this place is the only place for the children to have the education and assembly. In some states in Mexico, it's in extreme poverty. For example, in Chiapas, in Guerrero, and Oaxaca, there's around more than 60 people are living in poverty. In other words, they are not able to buy the canasta básica. It's a Spanish saying that it's a basic selection of the foodstuff, including the beans, rice, eggs, sugar, and canned tuna. So for the people in poverty, they are not able to sustain it and buying these things. And this is another graph to showing that poverty levels in Mexico across the state. Worse still, there are 52.4 million people in Mexico is in poverty. It's nearly 42% of the whole populations. And I will try to figure it out in more interesting places in Chiapas. So you will be curious why the people in Chiapas will drink more Coke than the other part in the world, because the Coke is really cheaper than the normal water. So you will, in the following, I will explain what is the reason behind it.
Wow. What is it?
It goes down really well with your food.
According to a 2019 study by the Chiapas Research Center, Coke drinkers in this state enjoy an average of 821 liters per person per year. That is equivalent to 2.2 liters per person per day. For comparison, Americans drink 3% of.
And it's very interesting that the Coke become a religion in these places. And the people in these places will worshipping the Coca-Cola, and it's a very separate. In Chiapas, it's very hard to come by the pure and clean water sources in Chiapas. But the state government, in order to stimulate the economy, they signed a contract with Coca-Cola to allowing them to extract 1.3 million liters for reproductions of Coca-Cola. So the people in that area, they are not able to secure a clean water because the water has been seized to the Coca-Cola. Therefore, they need to buy the water from the private company and with a high price. So the water will be controlled by the state company, and the others private company, they will keep it and sell it to Coca-Cola. So you can know that why the price of the water is very expensive, and the people in the poor in Chiapas will tend to buy the Coca-Cola. So this is the mayor, Ponciano Gomez. So he's the one who in charge in Chiapas, but he was discovered that he used the 2.2 million pesos to use for his personal use, and those money should be allocated into the public. But I know it's only the one of the case. There's many corruption in this Chiapas. There are many reasons to explain why Mexican is poor, but due to limited places, I will explain it in corruptions. So according to United Nations, the corruption and bureaucracy were losing 9% of the whole GDP in the nation and 30% of the public budget. So you understand that why the poverty affiliation branch in Mexico is not very effective, because the officials in the government are very likely to take in some money from the federal budgets. According to the Transparency International, there are nearly 15% of the Mexicans have tried to give a bribe to the government official when they are getting the basic services. So it's a very serious problem in Mexico, and the people in Mexico are get used to it. So this is a program called Progressa. So it is a project initiated by the Mexican government. So they are going to provide a financial aid for the mother in poor area. So they need to sign an agreement to make sure that the funds can be allocated to the children education and medical care. But however, this project did not have a very effective surveillance. So some of the mother will allocate the funds to her personal use. So the children's well-being, it cannot be improved. So the following will be explain the situation for the poor community in Mexico.
We're under pressure because our kids ask us for food, and we don't know what to give them because we don't have anything to give. Sometimes we have to look in the garbage because sometimes people throw away food, like cookies and bread, and they give it to us for the kids.
Extreme income inequality across the country means people like Norma continue to live without electricity and proper sewage. Beyond their food needs,
groups adequately, and at times also it's just been left at good intentions in legislation where they haven't actually invested through budgeting the programs necessary to reach those most marginalized children, those most deprived children.
Despite these challenges, Mexico says it will continue its efforts to reduce child poverty and meet the development goals set by the United Nations. For now, that means Norma Jimenez and families like hers can do little more than keep waiting.
I know the culture and the food in Mexico is really amazing, but in order to solve the poverty, the government and the people still have a long way to go. It's very hard to get rid of the corruptions and the other factors.